My family exiled me from family chat after I refused to fund my sisters. Then they tried to steal $80,000 using my name. So I gave them a lesson. We think it's best you step away for now, the note read. A group chat of all things. My parents, aunt and uncle were all present, albeit my uncle rarely spoke. But this time, he didn't have to. The silence was plenty. The message struck me. I was reheating some leftover curry, thinking about finishing that spreadsheet before bed, when I spotted this. We've discussed it, and we think it's best if you step away from the family for now. Vanessa needs space. We all do. My aunt gave a thumbs up beneath it. Just like that. No call, no explanation. Just a thumb. I stared at the screen for a full minute before typing. Understood. I'll respect that and step away from the family fund too. I didn't wait for a response. That night I entered into the joint account I had been quietly managing for 5 years, the one that paid mom's insulin, assisted dad in refinancing the second mortgage, and kept Vanessa's car running when her checks were delayed. I removed my automatic contributions. I then closed the account. My phone started vibrating, it buzzed continuously. By morning, there were 89 missed calls. My dad left the last voicemail. His voice was unsteady, angry, and terrified. What happened? The bank flagged everything. Are you okay? Why would you? I replied to his reply with a single sentence. I respect your decision. That was before they discovered how much I'd quietly accomplished. You would have to go back to truly appreciate why that communication seemed like a betrayal. 5 years ago, Vanessa was hospitalized for the second time. Dad called me crying from a Walgreens parking lot. She's not gonna make it, son, he informed me. They won't admit her without insurance. We're tapped out. That night I depleted my money and paid for rehab out of pocket. Vanessa appeared stable for a time. Everyone declared it a miracle. But they never mentioned, not once, that I had made it possible. Nobody offered to repay me. Nobody even asked how I was doing. But it did not end there. When mom was diagnosed with diabetes, I began covering her medications. Dad's hours were being reduced at the warehouse. Vanessa fluctuated in her level of stability. And every time she crashed, they came to me, silently and desperately. At start, it was minor stuff. $300 here, a loan just for this month. Then they asked if I could help set things up. A type of family emergency pool. I was 27 and single, working 80-hour weeks in finance. It made logic, I reminded myself. I was able to afford it, so I did. I created a family fund in my name. I channeled payments for mom's prescriptions, Vanessa's therapy copays, and even the phone bill when they went behind. They granted me access to everything, including passwords, account numbers, and balances. Not because they trusted me, but because they did not want to deal with the situation. They referred to me as the responsible one. They meant the option that was most handy. My life became a record of silent sacrifices. Meanwhile, Vanessa spiraled repeatedly. She received a DUI in 2020, and I paid for her counsel. She moved in with a guy named Eric, who was certainly not abusive. And when she left him in the middle of the night, I was the one to Venmo her enough money for a hotel and groceries. I never received a cent back. They never inquired where the money came from. They never saw the line-by-line spreadsheet I created to keep myself afloat. They never noticed when I downgraded my apartment, skipped vacations, and ate oatmeal for dinner more nights than I'd want to confess because I had to. I was the financial barrier between them, and it collapsed. And for a while I was fine with it. Until the Christmas incident. It happened 2 years ago. Vanessa had a tantrum when I refused to buy her new tires after I had just paid her rent. She told my folks that I was making her feel judged. That night, I received a message from Dad. Just try to be a little more understanding. Son, she's in recovery. You don't know how hard that is. I snapped. Not openly or explosively, but something within me snapped like ice under pressure. I didn't respond. Instead, I tried something else. I began documenting everything. Every dollar delivered, every invoice paid, and every excuse they gave. I made backups, emailed myself statements, and gathered screenshots. Not to keep it from them just yet, but to remind myself that it was true. That I hadn't imagined the drain, the pattern, or the continual pulling without giving. Then, last month, things came to a head. Vanessa messaged the family group. Hey, I know money's tight, but could the fund cover a yoga retreat in Arizona? It's for my mental health. A yoga retreat. $3,200. I didn't respond. I waited. I was curious what they might say, and my father, the same man who helped me get out of debt twice last year, said, "Sounds like something you really need. Let's see what we can do." Mom responded with a heart emoji. That's when I understood they weren't simply exploiting me. They expected me to be manipulated. They assumed the fund was theirs and that I was a silent donor. Years had passed, and entitlement had replaced gratitude. But the kicker was the grenade in the room, which arrived just 2 nights before the message. We were on a family call, a monthly check-in that normally degenerated into Vanessa's therapy session, with me serving as the invisible ATM in the background. I tried to discuss my promotion. I had been promoted to director at the firm. Huge raise, enormous responsibility. Dad interrupted me mid-sentence. Sorry, can we circle back to Vanessa's housing? She's not feeling safe in her current unit. They intended to relocate her to a better region. With my assistance, certainly. I did not agree. I did not fight. I simply stated calmly, maybe it's time someone else stepped up. Silence. Cold, stony, and outraged. Then came the message 2 days later. We think it's best if you step away for now. Aunt Evelyn's thumbs up felt like a knife. They believed they were shutting me off. They had no idea they were cutting the cord to the sole thing holding their financial life together. I had been the silent stream beneath their lives. When I halted, their lights went out. The repercussions started in exactly 36 hours. First came the overdraft notices. Then Mom's pharmacist phoned me. Then Vanessa, the one who desired space, left a voicemail that began in a whisper and ended in a scream. Why would you do this? You knew I needed that payment. By Sunday morning the texts were unrelenting. Dad unleashed a volley of voice messages, like a guy disintegrating in real time. They excluded me from the family talk, as if I didn't belong. The mortgage bounced. I thought you handled the insurance. The car is uninsured now. What did you do to the utilities account? The bank locked our checking, said there were multiple red flags. You need to fix this. Fix this. As if I'd shattered something. As if I hadn't already stepped aside as requested. The actual issue was not that I stopped helping. They didn't comprehend how much I was holding everything together. Then came the family Zoom call. My cousin Emily set it up, pretended it was just a conversation. But as soon as I joined, I noticed their faces lined up in perfect little rectangles, like a jury. Mom's lips were pushed so tightly they appeared bloodless. Dad was pacing. Vanessa had tears running down her face. It appeared rehearsed. Aunt Evelyn sat smugly in a scarf and pearls, as if we were in family court. Why did you do this to us? Vanessa asked, her voice shaking. You just abandoned us. After everything I've done. I responded. You mean after I paid your rent, funded your rehab, and got mocked for saying no to your yoga retreat? That's not fair, she said. Fair, I demanded. You want fair? How about this? For 5 years I've covered your financial trail like a forensic janitor. I've cleaned up your messes, paid your overdrafts, bailed you out while you posted inspirational quotes about healing and alignment. And the moment I hesitate, you exile me from the family chat like I was disposable. Mom finally spoke. It wasn't exile. We were giving you space too. No, you weren't, I interrupted. You were siding with Vanessa again. Like you always do. You just found a polite way to tell me to disappear. So I did. Dad folded his arms. You didn't have to cancel the fund. I didn't cancel it, I explained. I closed it. In my name. Funded with my money. Managed by me. The family fund was never a trust. It was a leash. His face grew crimson. We trusted you. No, I replied. You used me. Then I opened the folder beside me and selected share screen. A spreadsheet appeared. Rows upon rows of payments. Dates. Amounts. Every dime is tracked. Rent, medical, utilities, repairs. Vanessa's retreat, which I almost paid for. I rectified the overdrafts. Aunt Evelyn's emergency dental visit. Even the Uber receipts from when I paid for Mom's ride to the hospital at 2 a.m., during a panic episode. Wow, Emily whispered. Who even keeps all this? Evelyn sneered. Someone who knew one day you'd gaslight him into thinking he made it all up, I asked, my gaze never leaving the screen. Then I selected the final tab. It displayed a running total. $87,421.13. There is no more sound. Dad stepped back from the camera, as if he had been slapped. You've been keeping tabs on us, Mom exclaimed, alarmed. No, I replied. I've been surviving you. Vanessa lurched at the screen, like a toddler throwing a tantrum. You're just bitter. You've always been bitter because no one gives you a gold star for being a good son. You want applause for acting like an adult. No, I said quietly. I just want boundaries. And I'm done being your financial safety net. That's rich, Evelyn mumbled. You think money is the only thing that matters? No, I replied. But it was the only thing you ever came to me for. Then I closed the spreadsheet, looked at the camera, and administered the fatal blow. I've already contacted the bank, all joint authorizations removed. My name is no longer on anything related to your accounts. The credit cards closed. The shared utility auto pays were canceled. The insurance premiums? You'll need to re-enroll yourselves. You wanted me to step away. This is what that looks like. Mom gave a gasp. Dad's face became pallid. Vanessa looked like she had been shot. Emily leaned back in awe. But I wasn't finished. I also spoke to a lawyer, I added. You'll be receiving documents in the next few days. I'm dissolving any legal ties between me and the family trust that was never formalized. Just in case someone tries to dip into my credit or open anything in my name again. You're overreacting, Vanessa yelled. You're cutting us off. I'm protecting myself, I explained. From now on, I'm not your plan B, not your fallback, not your free ride. Dad appeared broken, but said nothing. Mom was quietly sobbing now. Vanessa got up and stormed off screen, slamming something in the background. Evelyn reached forward and ended the phone without saying anything. I sat back, heart racing and hands trembling. But for the first time in a decade, I wasn't terrified of the consequences, because all I had to lose was the weight I'd been carrying for far too long. The hush following the call was almost spooky. For the first time in years, my phone did not ring with a "Hey, quick favor," or "Can you just cover this one thing?" There were no guilt-laced voicemail messages. No crying emojis. Vanessa did not make any passive-aggressive posts about a family who turned their backs. Nothing. It was as if I had disappeared. At first I wondered if they'd finally got it. Perhaps they are learning to stand on their own. But I should have known better. 10 days later, I received an email from an address I didn't know. Clearly, this is a burning. With one sentence. You've ruined everything. Bills were attached as screenshots. Vanessa received an eviction notice. The power company has issued a final warning. A credit card application was declined, with my name listed as a former co-signer. They were disintegrating swiftly and chaotically. And the issue with individuals who are accustomed to relying on you is that they do not fall gracefully. They crash and blame you for the landing. That same week, Mom arrived at my office. I was attending a meeting. My assistant entered, wide-eyed. There's a woman here, says she's your mother, won't leave. I walked into the lobby where she was pale and shivering, carrying an envelope full of paperwork. I didn't know where else to go, she remarked in a scratchy voice. Your dad's sleeping on the couch. Vanessa hasn't left her room in 3 days. The landlord says he's changing the locks next week. I didn't say anything, so she played her final card. I raised you, she retorted, suddenly angry. I gave you life, and this is how you repay us. That's when I laughed, not loud or nasty. Just hollow, like air escaping from a damaged pipe. You gave me life, I explained. And then you spent 30 years trying to convince me I owed you for it. She flinched. I stepped forward. I didn't come to you at 22 and say, please, let me be responsible for your dysfunction. Let me carry your debt. Let me save my sister over and over again while you nod and enable her. Let me sacrifice my mental health, my relationships, my life, just so you can avoid looking in the mirror. She said nothing, so I continued. You want help? Call a social worker. Call a credit counselor. Call the same system you said people like us were too proud to rely on. I'm not your bailout anymore. I then walked back to my office. I didn't even check to see if she was following me, but it was not the end. A week later, I received a letter. Not an email or a physical letter from the bank. The envelope was thick. The kind of thick that spells disaster. Inside, there is a marked inquiry summary. Someone apparently tried to open a business loan using my name, SSN, and the family fund's tax ID number. The only reason it didn't get through? I had closed the account a few days before, which triggered a fraud warning. The loan totaled $80,000. The company name is Vanessa Grace Recovery Services LLC. I froze. That wasn't a legitimate company. There was no LCL. There is no tax record. No license. However, the papers was submitted along with a counterfeit signature that matched mine. I phoned the bank. The fraud department representative picked up the entire packet. And as she read the co-signers, Dad and Mom, I sat there in startled silence as she said, Sir, it appears someone close to you tried to pose as your authorized financial partner. If you hadn't closed that fund, this might have gone undetected. They hadn't just utilized me, they attempted to transfer responsibility onto me. Quietly attach my name to a debt that I was not a part of. That's when everything became sharper. Vanessa suddenly desired space. My parents encouraged it. The silence. The removal. The courteous exile. It was not a spontaneous event. It was a setup. Take me off the fund discreetly. Keep my name attached. Take the money. Disappear. Allow the bank to come after me if things crumbled. They didn't only want my assistance. They wanted to hold me responsible without asking. When that didn't work, they made me the villain in a tale about their own failed theft. I spent the weekend filling out paperwork with the bank, police, and IRS. I submitted the fake paperwork. I wrote affidavits. I even handed over earlier texts in which Vanessa expressed interest in forming a nonprofit in my name. It took several hours, but each keystroke felt like treatment. Vanessa called that night from a different phone number, crying. I just wanted to say I get it now. I let her talk. She did not mention the loan. I did not mention the forgery. Just went on about how sad she was, how difficult things had been, and how we were still family. I asked one question. Did you know about the business application? There is no more sound. Then the line went dead. I blocked that number. That's when the real shift occurred. Not them, but me. I began sleeping better. I stopped checking my bank app every night, fearful that someone was stealthily siphoning my funds again. I went to supper with friends and didn't flinch when the bill arrived. Then Uncle Henry called. An outcast. They labeled him as unstable after he severed ties years ago. He found me on LinkedIn. Saw what you did, he said. Heard about the fund. Heard about the loan too. I didn't ask how. Henry always knew more than he let on. You're not the first they've drained, he said. Just the first who shut the faucet off. And that's when it clicked. This wasn't only about me. This was generational. A long line of people who were nurtured into service, silence, and becoming the savior while everyone else drowned in denial. They assumed I was the villain because I had stopped playing the hero. Allow me to tell you something about heroes. The majority of them die broke and exhausted, while everyone else applauds at their funeral. Not me. I switched cities 2 months later, new job, better team, increased pay, no forwarding address. And one day, in the solitude of my new apartment, with the floors still bare and the furniture still arriving, I received a Facebook message from Eric. Yeah. Eric. Vanessa's ex is abusive. I did not expect this. It reads, but thank you for helping her, even when she didn't deserve it. I wasn't the only thing she needed saving from. It completely stopped me. Not because I wanted affirmation, but because that was the first time anyone in that circle admitted the truth. I had been protecting them from themselves until I quit. And when I stopped, the silence that followed was not due to remorse. It was freedom. It's been nearly a year. It's been 12 months since I closed the fund. Since the group chat banishment. Since 3 a.m. A phone call resulted in 89 missed calls, 1 message, and an unexpected financial collapse. Since they submitted a business loan application under my name without my knowledge, and attempted to frame me for $80,000 in fictitious recovery services. I kept thinking about how empty I would feel after going away. That shame would creep in late at night as it used to, whispering, they're your family. Maybe you overreacted. Maybe you could have saved them. But what is the only thing I feel right now? Peace. Not the performing sort. Not the sort you pretend to have while holding back tears at Sunday dinner while someone makes a joke about you being the responsible one. Real peace. The kind when your phone does not ring with dread. Where your money belongs to you. Where your boundaries lie. Where you do not apologize for being free. They tried, of course. Mom sent an email on Christmas Eve. He stated that the tree appeared to be less full this year. I've attached a photo of her and her father in the living room, smiling without their teeth, as if performing for the camera. Vanessa sent an email on her birthday in March. A 5-paragraph essay about how she was recovering her authority, concluding with a casual mention of needing assistance with her first and last month's rent. I did not respond to either. I still check my credit score every month. That's okay. There were no unexpected accounts. There are no mysterious charges. The alerts I set up following the forgery never went off because I now control my life and defend it in the same way I once did theirs. But now comes the unexpected part. Others came forward, including cousins I hadn't seen in years, co-workers I'd hardly spoken to, and a stranger on Reddit who noticed my comment in a finance post and messaged, "Your story. I think it happened to me too." It turns out there are many of us. The strong ones. The trusty ones. They are the ones who pay the rent, mend the disarray, hide the panic, and bear the weight despite being told we are too cold. When we finally ask for anything back, the family vaults with no locks slam closed. Until one day, we discover how to slam the door. Let me be clear, leaving my family was the most difficult thing I have ever done. It's harder than watching Vanessa relapse. It's harder than removing Dad from my emergency contact list. It was harder than keeping silent while they branded me selfish, bitter, and cruel. But it was also the most important thing I'd ever done. Because staying would have entailed slowly murdering myself for their comfort. And the final straw, the one that convinced me I had done the right thing, arrived just a few weeks ago. I was walking home from a late client meeting along the same street I'd walked dozens of times before, and Aunt Evelyn was sitting outside the corner bakery. Scarf, pearls, the same smug posture. She saw me. We waved as if we were old friends. I nearly continued walking, but I paused. She eyed me up and down. "You look well," she said. "I am." There was a drumbeat. She asked without cynicism, "Would you ever consider setting something up again? For emergencies?" I laughed long, low, and from deep within my core. Then I calmly said, "I did. It's called my future." I walked away. I'm not sure if they'll ever really grasp what they lost or why I had to leave. Perhaps they will change the story. Say I was greedy, unstable, ungrateful. Perhaps Vanessa will convert a blog piece about toxic siblings into a podcast. I do not care, because the fact is straightforward. I am not the villain in their story. I am the one who has finally fled it. And in doing so, I gave myself something others could never have: unconditional freedom.